With more than 80% of its territory covered by steep mountains and constantly exposed to earthquakes and tsunamis, Japan was once considered a land almost rejected by agriculture. Yet from that harsh environment emerges an industry worth nearly 150 billion USD every year, transforming every scarce meter of land into a production system built on near absolute precision. So what allowed Japan, a country with limited farmland, limited natural resources, and constant disaster risks, to become home to one of the highest standard agricultural industries in the world? In this video, Agriculture Insight takes you behind the scenes of Japanese agriculture, where every crop is managed with near-perfect precision. Every flow of water is adjusted according to each stage of growth, and every product must meet exceptionally high standards before leaving the farm, revealing how Japan transformed its limitations into an advantage in the race for high-value agriculture. Everything will be revealed right now. At the first stop of our journey, we arrive at the Arita Mikan orchards in Wakayama, where premium boxes of mandarins can sell for as much as 70 USD per kilogram, comparable to the price of regular Wagyu beef in Japan. Unlike the flatland citrus farms of the United States, Arita Mikan are grown on mountainsides facing the sea, where the fast-draining soil forces the trees to concentrate sugars, while reflected sunlight helps the fruit receive even exposure, creating a sweetness that flatland farming struggles to achieve. From late October to early December, when the harvest season begins, the steep and narrow terrain leaves machinery almost entirely out of the process, forcing nearly everything to be done by hand. Instead of harvesting in bulk like the large industrial orchards on flat plains, Arita Mikan growers use specialized scissors to cut close to the stem with precision repeated thousands of times each day, preserving the fruit's extremely thin layer of essential oils, a factor that directly affects both storage life and commercial value. Each hour, a skilled farmer can harvest around 80 to 120 kilograms of mandarins, constantly observing the color, the tightness of the peel, and the level of sunlight exposure on each fruit to determine the exact moment it reaches peak sweetness. Once detached from the branches, the mandarins are immediately placed into lightweight plastic crates positioned along the hillside, where every movement must be fast enough to maintain the pace of the harvest, while still careful enough to avoid tiny impacts that could reduce the fruit's quality after only a few days of transport. On mountain slopes steeper than 30 degrees, the harvested mandarins must be transported down by hand or through miniature rail systems attached to the hillsides, making the Arita Mikan season resemble a massive manual logistics operation. From the mountainside, the mandarins are quickly transferred into the processing line, where around 70% of the premium-grade harvest is packed and shipped the very same day to preserve maximum freshness. The rest is immediately sent for juice production before the fruit's natural sweetness begins to decline. Each year, Japan produces around 700,000 tons of mikan, generating billions of dollars in revenue for the country's fruit industry. Leaving behind the vibrant Arita Mikan orchards, we continue our journey to Sekaiichi, one of the world's most prestigious pear varieties, regarded as a symbol of luxury and refinement, generating around 10 billion USD each year. The journey of a Sekaiichi pear usually begins in March and April, when the entire branch system is carefully trained horizontally along low steel frames, creating a plane of light that allows every cluster of blossoms to receive even sunlight from the very first stage of budding. When the flowers bloom, growers use soft brushes to transfer pollen between compatible varieties instead of relying entirely on bees. Around 7 to 10 days after fruit set, transparent covers are pulled above the trellis system to stabilize temperature and prevent early seasonal rain from damaging the delicate skin as it forms. Soon after, Wind-assisted mist sprayers move along the tree rows, creating a thin protective layer that reaches deep into every level of the canopy. By harvest season, each pear is separated from the branch using specialized curved-tip scissors and immediately placed into soft fabric bags to preserve the fruit's highly refined surface. For certain special orders, the recipient's name is lightly engraved onto the pear while it is still green. After just 30 to 40 days, the lettering gradually expands with the growing skin, becoming a rare personalized signature in the luxury fruit industry. The pears are then transferred to the processing area, where every fruit undergoes another round of careful selection before receiving origin identification and being packaged according to strict standards. Generating more than $500 million in annual revenue, sweet potatoes in Japan are not just a familiar agricultural product, but were once considered a lifeline for an entire nation, helping millions of Japanese survive severe rice crop failures during the Edo period and avoid the threat of widespread famine. In the past, sweet potatoes in Japan were harvested entirely by hand from narrow soil beds, but today the industry has entered a modern era of mechanized harvesting. Unlike the United States, where large multi-row harvesting systems capable of processing 20 to 30 tons per hour are commonly used to maximize output for industrial-scale farming operations, many sweet potato regions in Japan instead rely on compact single-row diggers designed for narrow beds only around 70 to 90 centimeters wide. These machines lift the soil in thin layers and transfer the potatoes onto soil separation belts with extremely low impact, preserving the delicate skin during its final stage of development. This approach clearly reflects Japan's distinctive farming philosophy, where the goal of harvest season is focused not on volume, but on the quality and appearance of each individual potato. From the fields, the sweet potatoes are transferred into multi-stage rotating washing systems, where spiral drums continuously turn to remove soil while preserving the natural outer skin. After cleaning, the crop is separated into different production streams for starch extraction, dried slices, or fermentation into imo shochu, a traditional spirit with more than 300 years of history, transforming an ordinary root crop into a high-value product. As unbelievable as it sounds, more than 90% of the wasabi consumed around the world is actually just green-dyed horseradish mixed with mustard, because real wasabi is one of the most difficult crops ever commercialized. Unlike common culinary herbs that can grow in ordinary soil, real wasabi only develops properly when cultivated in nearly pure cold running water, maintained at temperatures between 8 and 15 degrees Celsius. If the water rises just a few degrees warmer, or the current weakens, entire fields can die from root rot and oxygen loss. And that is also why Japan has become almost the only country capable of sustaining a high-quality commercial wasabi industry. In Shizuoka Prefecture, the most famous wasabi growing region in Japan, the entire cultivation system is built around mountain streams, where rainwater and melted snow spend years filtering through layers of rock before finally reaching the roots. But clean water is only the starting condition. What truly makes wasabi so difficult to cultivate is that the entire field operates like a precisely controlled flow system. Each seedling is placed at fixed intervals across gravel beds, so that water and oxygen can circulate continuously around the roots throughout the plant's 18 to 24 months of development, an unusually long growing period for a culinary spice. By harvest season, farmers must step directly into the cold water to pull each rhizome out from the gravel without damaging the plant's extremely fragile structure. After being cleaned and trimmed, real wasabi must be used almost immediately, because its aroma and pungent compounds begin to fade rapidly once grated. Authentic wasabi is never pre-ground in advance, but freshly grated to create a smooth paste that reaches its peak fragrance within the first 10 to 15 minutes. Its demanding cultivation process, long growth cycle, and extremely short flavor lifespan are what push the price of real wasabi to around 200 to 300 USD per kilogram, many times more expensive than industrial imitation versions. But the greatest difference is not the price, but the experience itself. The heat of real wasabi rushes straight through the nose and disappears quickly, leaving behind a light and refreshing sensation. Completely different from the harsh, lingering burn of horseradish mixed with mustard that most of the world consumes every day. There's a little-known reality that few people would believe. Japan lives on soybeans, yet more than 90% of its supply is imported, because domestic cultivation is bound by standards far too strict for true mass production. Unlike the massive soybean fields of the United States, Australia, or Brazil, where the goal is maximizing output, Japan's domestic soybean harvest takes place on small plots of land, sometimes only a few hectares in size, with each individual batch monitored separately from the moment it leaves the plant. Within that environment, harvesting machines operate slowly but with high precision. The cutting blades trim the plants close to the ground before feeding the entire stalk into the threshing chamber, where the beans are separated within seconds. A powerful airflow immediately removes impurities before the beans are transferred into the storage tank above. The harvesting capacity may seem low at only around 1 to 1.5 hectares per hour, but the real difference is not speed. It is the fact that every harvested batch is already treated as the first stage of quality selection. From this first stage of selection, only a very small portion of Japan's domestic soybeans is chosen to continue the journey toward becoming natto, one of the most controversial foods in Japan, where standards are not relaxed but tightened even further at every stage of production. The beans must be small, round, and highly uniform so the bacteria can penetrate quickly and deeply, creating the foundation for natto's distinctive texture. After being cleaned in swirling water streams and softened under pressurized steam, the beans, still hot, are immediately coated with a fine layer of Bacillus subtilis culture, triggering fermentation almost instantly. Inside temperature-controlled fermentation chambers, the bacteria break down proteins and produce polyglutamic acid, the compound responsible for natto's signature sticky strands. After only around 24 hours, the finished natto emerges still slightly warm before being carefully portioned and packaged. For those who love natto, it delivers a deep, clean, and lingering umami richness that becomes strangely addictive. But for first-time eaters, it can feel like a true test of taste, where the smell and texture alone are enough to make them pause for a few seconds before deciding whether they're brave enough to try it. Few people know that by the late 19th century, herring once appeared in such overwhelming numbers that they darkened entire stretches of Japan's seas. Yet within just a few decades, that phenomenon almost disappeared because of overfishing. So what was it about this fish that drove Japan into a frenzy, pushing harvesting beyond control and sparking endless controversy? The answer begins with the harvest season, usually from February to April, when massive schools of herring move close to shore in extremely dense formations. Ironically, the true target was never the meat itself, but the roe inside, the prized ingredient used to make kazunoko, which can sell for as much as 150 USD per kilogram. To harvest them, fishermen commonly surround entire fishing zones with purse seine nets, giant circular nets dropped into the water and then closed at the bottom like an enormous drawstring bag, trapping entire schools within just 15 to 30 minutes, with each catch reaching several tons. As soon as the catch reaches the port, the fish are dumped directly onto conveyor systems, where automated sorting lines immediately separate the females carrying roe. From there, the process shifts into a far more precise stage. Inside the processing area, the fish are opened with thin blades, and the two long roe sacs are extracted almost completely intact. Each fish can contain up to 20,000 to 30,000 eggs, fused into a dense mass, the defining feature behind the product's value. After being washed and cured in salt, the roe gradually develops its signature golden color. Once it reaches the desired stage, the sacs are lightly pressed into shape, cut into standardized portions, and packaged. From there, the product appears in premium dishes such as kazunoko served alongside sashimi, where each crisp, dense slice of roe becomes a highlight of both texture and flavor. At our final destination, we head out to sea to explore Yellowtail, the fish behind one of Japan's most iconic sashimi industries, generating around $4 billion USD each year. Unlike tuna, mackerel, or herring that must be chased in the wild, Yellowtail in Japan is now almost entirely designed from the ground up inside offshore sea cages. Not because wild fish cannot be caught, but because fishing alone cannot control fat content and meat texture the way modern aquaculture systems can. About 24 to 48 hours before harvest, the fish are given less feed to clear their digestive systems and stabilize meat quality. Once harvesting begins, the nets are gradually tightened, concentrating the entire school into an area of only around 20 to 30 square meters, turning the water surface violent with thousands of powerful splashes. Each batch of fish is lifted using large nets or soft suction systems with almost no physical impact. Right on the vessel, the yellowtail are kept inside continuously circulating seawater tanks to stabilize their condition before the next processing stage is on shore. Once removed from the sea cages, the fish split into two different production paths. For industrial processing, speed becomes the priority. The fish are filleted, deboned, vacuum-packed, or processed into ready-to-use products with maximum efficiency and output. But for sashimi-grade yellowtail, everything slows down with deliberate control. The fish are processed immediately, with every knife stroke following the natural grain of the flesh to preserve texture and fat marbling. Temperature, humidity, and even air exposure time are tightly regulated. Here, the fish is no longer treated as raw material, but as a form of craftsmanship, where each slice reflects an almost obsessive level of precision. First, we head to the cold waters of the San-in coast, home to matsubagani snow crabs, sometimes only as large as a single leg of a king crab, yet prized for their delicate texture and clean, natural sweetness, making them a premium ingredient in high-end sushi. From November through March each year, as bottom water temperatures reach their lowest, fishing efforts concentrate on crab populations that have accumulated energy and achieved peak sweetness at depths of around 400 meters. The most widely used harvesting method today is the bottom trap, a dominant technique thanks to its high selectivity, minimizing mechanical damage and preserving the crab's intact form for premium markets. In Japan, fishermen do not leave traps submerged for days. Freshness is the ultimate priority. Leaving traps too long not only degrades quality, but can also cause the crabs to die before reaching port, directly diminishing their exceptionally high market value at auctions, where even the smallest details can influence the final price. As soon as the traps are hauled up, fishermen immediately shift into the role of inspectors, enforcing strict conservation rules. All female crabs and undersized males with a carapace width under 9 centimeters are released back into the sea to sustain the population. Notably, newly molted crabs, even if they are large, are rejected without exception. The reason lies in both ecology and economics. Soft-shelled crabs with watery, loose flesh not only waste resources but also risk severely damaging the San-in region's premium reputation. On the opening day of each fishing season, snow crab auctions are held with ceremonial significance, almost like a ritual for good fortune. Hundreds of crabs are lined up on the floor, awaiting record-breaking bids. Yet only top-grade specimens are granted branded identification tags, a kind of passport certifying their quality, origin, and compliance with the rigorous standards set by fisheries cooperatives. There is a market paradox. While king crab often retails at around $200 per kilogram due to its size advantage, snow crab typically ranges around $150 per kilogram, depending on quality. However, at opening auctions, premium-tagged snow crabs can fetch prices reaching tens of thousands of dollars. Whale meat, once a strategic source of protein in the post-war era and a common staple in the lunches of millions of Japanese schoolchildren, as familiar as canned Spam is in the United States, has now declined to record lows, with annual production falling below 2,000 tons. That amounts to less than 10 grams per person per year, lighter than a single AA battery. Despite a steadily shrinking market, tens of millions of dollars in annual government subsidies continue to support the Kyoto Senpaku fleet, enabling voyages from spring through late autumn. Beyond commercial goals, this serves to maintain Japan's offshore processing logistics and distant water harvesting capabilities, an important contingency should imported food supplies be disrupted. At sea, the harvesting process is carried out with the precision of a heavy industrial assembly line. The crew, often marine mechanical specialists, operate like skilled technicians. A specialized harpoon is used to secure the target, after which the tail is fastened with high-tensile steel cables, combined with flotation buoys and hydraulic winches to haul the massive body onto the stern slipway. As soon as they are brought on board, the multi-ton carcasses are hoisted by crane directly into the vessel's onboard processing facility. Here, a race against time begins. The entire butchering process must be completed within 6 hours, before heat retained within the thick fat layer alters the muscle structure and degrades the meat's quality from the inside out. Inside the cutting room, workers use the umibocho, a large, wide-bladed knife made of ultra-sharp steel mounted on a wooden handle over 2 meters long. As the skin and fat are gradually separated from the skeletal frame, precise cuts reveal the most valuable portions of meat. The most prized is the tail section, known for its fine marbling, often valued on par with premium Wagyu beef. The meat is then transferred immediately into deep freezing chambers at around 60 degrees Celsius, a temperature that minimizes the formation of large ice crystals, preserving muscle fiber integrity and maintaining freshness for up to 2 years in frozen storage. Canned products, meanwhile, can last up to 3 years while still retaining their sensory quality. If you're curious about the taste, this red meat is often described as the venison of the ocean, thanks to its firm texture, rich flavor, high protein content, and relatively low fat. Notably, whale meat contains a compound called balanine, still not fully understood, but believed by scientists to contribute to the species' remarkable ability to withstand extreme pressure in the deep sea. Continuing from these massive offshore pursuits, we arrive at another symbol of endurance in Japanese culinary culture: aramaki-sake salted salmon, a premium delicacy that takes up to 5 weeks to transform into the gold of the coastal regions. The production season begins in late autumn, when chum salmon migrate upstream into the rivers of Niigata and Hokkaido, at the point when they reach optimal fat content and size in preparation for spawning. Here, artisans often harvest the fish using traditional handline methods to preserve the integrity of the scales and avoid physical damage to the meat's structure. Immediately after harvest, the fish are washed in cold water and eviscerated, a critical step that removes digestive enzymes and microorganisms that could spoil the flesh from within. This entire process is carried out swiftly to maintain absolute freshness before the fish enters its most crucial stage, dry salting. Skilled craftsmen, often seasoned artisans with an exceptionally refined tactile instinct, coat the entire fish with coarse salt, concentrating on the belly and head to ensure even penetration without over-curing or toughening the flesh. The fish are then stacked in large wooden vats, where heavy stone weights exert continuous pressure, forcing out residual blood and muscle fluids while triggering a cascade of biochemical transformations deep within. After about 5 days of salt curing, the fish enters the stage that defines its distinctive character: air hanging. Once rinsed to remove excess salt and the final layer of surface slime, each fish is tied at the tail and hung upside down. This crucial technique allows excess moisture and fat to drain away, while drawing nutrients from the tail toward the head and belly, intensifying the richness in the most prized sections of the meat. And what about those small bamboo sticks inserted across the abdominal cavity? They act as braces that keep the fish body stretched open, allowing cold, dry sea air to circulate through every crevice, ensuring the drying process occurs evenly from the inside out. After about 4 weeks, the surface of the fish develops a crystallized, protective dry layer, while the interior retains just enough moisture to prevent the flesh from becoming overly dry. At this stage, a simple thin slice and light grilling are enough to reveal a deep umami flavor and a firm texture that fresh fish can never replicate. To experience this level of craftsmanship, you would pay around $150 for a single aramaki sake, 3 to 4 times the price of industrially salted salmon, in exchange for a delicacy that is almost entirely handcrafted, reflecting the meticulous standards of Japanese artisans. Often dubbed the Wagyu of the cured meat world, Berkshire pork, also known as kurobuta, first arrived in Japan in the 19th century as a diplomatic gift from the British royal family. Despite its name meaning black pig, a true standard specimen must display exactly 6 white points on all 4 legs, the snout, and the tip of the tail. This strict identification rule verifies purebred lineage and guarantees an uncompromised elite genetic profile. The first defining difference lies in its remarkably slow growth rate. Instead of reaching market size in just 6 months like industrial pigs, Berkshire requires nearly 10 months to mature. This extended period is crucial. Once the skeletal structure stabilizes, the body begins prioritizing intramuscular fat deposition, fat that weaves into the muscle fibers rather than accumulating externally. Throughout this period, they are raised on a protein-rich diet of grains and notably sweet potatoes, a carbohydrate source that gives the fat its snow-white color, delicate sweetness, and low melting point, creating that signature melt-in-your-mouth sensation the moment it touches the tongue. However, the main reason Berkshire pork is so highly sought after lies in its dense intramuscular marbling. Combined with a naturally higher pH that enhances water retention, the meat remains lightly pink, exceptionally juicy and tender even after cooking. Its short muscle fibers contribute to a smooth, refined texture, delivering a sensory experience comparable to premium beef. With a reproductive rate 20 to 30% lower than commercial pigs, along with strict requirements for appearance and extended rearing time, supply remains inherently limited. As a result, Berkshire pork rarely appears in mass markets, instead reserved for special occasions, from pan-seared steaks to premium tonkatsu, where diners are willing to pay hundreds of dollars for the authenticity of a breed with royal origins. Yubari King is a premium melon variety that once fetched a record auction price of 1.2 billion VNDs per pair, born from Yubari's bold decision after the collapse of its coal industry. In harsh winters dropping below -10°C, all melons are cultivated in greenhouses with precise temperature and humidity control. From the very beginning, each plant is individually nurtured and monitored before being transferred to larger beds, where drip irrigation systems maintain optimal growth. From planting to fruit formation takes about 50 days. During this stage, growers gently massage the fruit every day to create micro-stress on the surface. Though it may seem unusual, this technique stimulates the rind to crack in a controlled manner, prompting the plant to release sap that heals and crystallizes into a thick, raised net-like pattern. The density and uniformity of these veins are key criteria used to grade a premium Yubari King melon. Around 60 days after fruit set, the melon enters the harvest stage. Growers check the base for slight softness, then tap it lightly to listen for a deep, muted sound, an indication that the flesh is dense and fully ripened. Only melons with a near-perfect spherical shape, well-defined netting, and high sugar content are selected. They are cut with a long stem intact, then carefully shaped into a T-form, an initial signature that signals meticulous cultivation and premium quality. If Yubari melons are the king of summer, then when-dried persimmons are Japan's winter cash machine, generating hundreds of millions of dollars each year for cold, dry regions like Fukushima and Nagano. As temperatures drop, persimmons are harvested by hand with only large, firm fruits that retain their T-shaped stems selected for balanced hanging. More than 200,000 tons of fresh persimmons are harvested annually, though this figure is gradually declining due to labor shortages and shrinking farmland. After harvesting, each fruit is carefully peeled, briefly blanched in hot water for sterilization, and then tied, arguably the most critical step, to ensure no fruits touch and cause moisture buildup that leads to spoilage. The persimmons are hung in well-ventilated areas, exposed to cold air but protected from rain, making the process highly dependent on weather conditions. After about a week, once the skin firms up, artisans begin daily hand massaging each fruit to redistribute sugars, soften the texture, and encourage the formation of a natural white sugar bloom on the surface. After 4 to 6 weeks, the persimmons develop a soft, jam-like consistency with a deep reddish-brown color and rich sweetness. Each fruit can sell for up to $15, a price that reflects not only the intensive manual labor, but also the significant added value compared to fresh persimmons. In the United States, carp are seen as an aggressive, invasive species, disrupting rivers and becoming a long-standing ecological concern. But in China, that very same fish is a pillar of freshwater aquaculture, generating more than $30 billion USD and supporting millions of households. That journey does not begin in the wild, but inside modern breeding centers, where broodstock are carefully selected and genetically controlled. From there, the fish are transferred into earthen ponds, artificial lakes, or flooded rice fields, true, living protein factories. When the stock reaches its growth threshold, the entire farm enters the harvest phase like a pre-programmed operation. Water levels are lowered step by step, gradually shrinking the living space and guiding the fish with the current toward a collection zone. Large nets close in slowly but precisely, gathering layers of silver bodies, rolling through the water into a single point. Within hours, the fish are lifted from the surface, brought ashore, and sorted. In winter, in northern provinces where pond surfaces can freeze solid, farmers must maintain aeration by drilling holes through the ice or running oxygenation systems to prevent suffocation. In China, production may slow with the seasons, but the management and care of the stock never truly stop. In China, sea cucumbers, strange creatures with no brain, no bones, and breathing through their anus, are not only a biological curiosity of the ocean, but also a living treasure beneath the seabed, supporting a food and medicinal industry worth nearly 20 billion USD each year. For decades, harvesting relied entirely on brave divers, plunging dozens of meters into cold waters, facing crushing pressure just to find individual specimens hidden beneath layers of seabed sand. Every dive was a gamble between profit and the limits of human endurance. Today, instead of diving deep, many vessels simply drag nets along the ocean floor, moving slowly and steadily across the sandy beds where sea cucumbers live. When the nets close, each haul is brought directly onto the deck within minutes, immediately sorted, rinsed with seawater, and chilled to preserve freshness, almost as if they had just left the ocean. After harvest, sea cucumbers are transported straight to processing facilities. Few people realize that 10 kilograms of fresh sea cucumbers, once cleaned and dried, yield only about 1 kilogram of finished product. This near disappearance in weight is what makes dried sea cucumber one of the ocean's most expensive delicacies. Once considered a stubborn menace to farmland, threatening ecological balance, crayfish are now rolled out the red carpet in China as they become the centerpiece of a massive agricultural transformation worth 45 billion USD. In China, the rice crayfish model operates as a closed-loop ecosystem. The flood season nurtures aquatic life, while the rainy season returns fertile rice fields. But the real value does not stop in the paddies. Beyond the cultivation zones, crayfish are also harvested from wetlands spanning dozens of hectares, where the water surface is thick with vegetation and hundreds of traps are pre-arranged like an automated harvesting system. Motorboats weave through the dense greenery as each trap is pulled up in steady succession, revealing batches of live crayfish thrashing inside ventilated stainless steel containers. The process runs at an industrial rhythm. Pull the trap, empty the catch, rebait, and reset at precise coordinates. A single worker can handle between 500 and 1,000 traps per day, keeping the harvest flow uninterrupted. Next, the journey takes us to China's duck farms, the duck capital of the world, supplying more than 4 billion ducks each year to domestic and international markets. That journey begins at breeding farms, where each egg is carefully selected before entering automated incubation systems, maintained at a stable 37.5 degrees Celsius, with light and humidity adjusted according to natural biological rhythms. After about 28 days, ducklings peck through their shells and enter a strictly controlled rearing environment, from temperature and nutrition to stocking density, laying the foundation for meat quality from the very first days. In traditional models, flocks grow in spacious enclosures without being completely confined. During the day, they are released into ponds, wetlands, or flooded fields, foraging for snails, insects, and aquatic plants. At night, they return to shelters to rest. Once they reach standard weight, the flock enters the transfer stage. Moving thousands of ducks at once is a major challenge. They are prone to panic, slipping, and getting lost. To address this, farmers design narrow mesh corridors combined with sloped platforms functioning like a duck elevator, guiding the flock along a natural flow, reducing stress and minimizing losses. After 5 to 6 months, mature ducks are sorted. Females enter a laying cycle of 200 to 250 eggs per year, while meat ducks move to their final stage. It is this meticulous chain of control that creates thick skin, ideal fat ratios, and firm meat texture, the foundation for the golden, crispy skin and succulent flesh of Peking duck, a dish that has appeared on imperial banquet tables for more than 600 years. Leaving the duck farms behind, we move straight to frog ponds in China, where hundreds of thousands of tons of market frogs are produced each year, transforming an amphibian once associated with rural imagery into a billion-dollar aquaculture industry. In modern farming ponds, the journey begins with a distinctive biological moment known as amplexus, when the male clasps the female's back to fertilize eggs directly in the water. Thousands of eggs quickly appear, and within just a few days hatch into tadpoles, entering a strictly controlled rearing system. Water maintained at 26 to 30 degrees Celsius, neutral pH levels, and an absolutely calm environment to minimize stress, a critical factor for this highly sensitive species. As they develop, young frogs are raised in shallow tanks with a gentle water flow, providing oxygen while stimulating natural hunting reflexes. High-protein feed supports rapid growth, while stocking density is continuously graded to prevent conflict, a strong competitive instinct of amphibians. Water is also changed frequently, as even small accumulations of waste can disrupt the entire system. Once they reach a larger size, the frogs are transferred to outdoor tanks and specialized net systems, where natural water flow continues to sustain growth without interrupting their cycle. At harvest season, water levels are gradually lowered, and soft nets guide the frogs to move naturally into collection zones, rather than being forcibly captured. As a result, the meat retains its firmness and perfect fiber structure, ready to enter processing lines, from delicate steamed dishes to golden, crispy roasted versions, completing the journey from pond to modern dining table. Can you believe that some of the softest and most luxurious fabrics in the world begin with a tiny, slow-moving, and rather unattractive creature? That is the paradox of silk in China, where minute silkworms lying quietly on mulberry leaves sustain a global silk empire worth more than 16 billion USD each year. If silkworms were once raised on a small scale in rural homes, today China builds factories spanning thousands of square meters dedicated solely to them. Millions rest on stacked rearing trays, feeding exclusively on mulberry leaves kept at precisely controlled dryness, as silkworms do not drink water throughout their life cycle. They grow so rapidly that they must molt repeatedly just to keep pace with their own development. When their bodies turn translucent and their feeding slows, cocoon frames are lowered. Each worm selects a small compartment, rotates its head in a figure-8 motion, and releases a filament more than 1,000 meters long within just 2 to 3 days. Inside that fragile cocoon, the pupa silently transforms over 7 to 10 days, completing one of the most precise biological processes ever harnessed by humans. Afterward, the cocoons are heat-dried to preserve the intact silk filament, soaked in hot water to soften the sericin layer, and fed into reeling machines. Dozens of ultra-fine strands are combined into threads stretching for kilometers, then washed, polished, and wound into spools. The moment a small cocoon becomes one of the world's most luxurious silks. Seemingly nothing more than a venomous weapon in ancient legends, scorpions are in fact a rare commodity valued at up to 3,000 USD per kilogram on the medicinal market. In industrial scorpion farming, everything begins with a simple principle: separation to control life. During the juvenile stage, or right after molting, each scorpion is raised individually in small cups. This prevents cannibalism and allows farmers to closely monitor growth and survival. Once their size becomes uniform and their bodies stabilize, they are moved into group systems, large trays, cement tanks, or plastic containers filled with stacked egg cartons that create hundreds of hiding spaces. This compact setup maximizes space while preserving natural behavior. Feeding is carefully calculated. Crickets, cockroaches, or small insects are provided just 2 to 3 times per week, as their slow metabolism allows them to endure long periods without constant food. After 6 to 12 months, when they reach commercial size, scorpions are collected with specialized tools and sent to facilities for medicinal processing, venom research, or specialty cuisine. In the past, in many countries, mushroom farming meant leaving harvests at the mercy of weather and seasonal risks. In China, however, that narrative has been completely rewritten. Robots and automated systems now control every link in the chain, from humidity and temperature to each morning dewdrop, all the way to the final cut at harvest, together generating over $7 billion annually. Depending on farm scale and mushroom varieties, different harvesting methods are applied, but all are driven by the same goal: faster, more precise, and more uniform production. On small and medium-sized farms, manual harvesting still plays a crucial role. Workers gently twist the mushroom at its base to separate it from the growing medium, avoiding cracked caps or torn stems. The roots are neatly trimmed, and the mushrooms are placed directly into trays. This approach allows for precise maturity selection, preserves perfect form, and meets the standards of premium mushroom varieties. On large-scale farms, specialized harvesting machines operate as fully enclosed production lines. Blades cut cleanly at the base, mushrooms drop onto conveyor belts and pass through sensor systems that evaluate size, shape, and quality before automated packaging. At the highest level, robots take over the entire harvesting process. Mechanical arms lift mushrooms with millimeter-level precision, cut the roots, sort them on the spot, and operate 24/7, delivering massive output with near-perfect uniformity. As desertification spreads and water becomes a matter of survival, Chinese agriculture has been forced to rethink its choice of crops. Sunflowers, with their deep root systems and low water requirements, have emerged as a strategic crop in Inner Mongolia, Gansu, and Xinjiang, arid regions where many other plants struggle to survive. From late June to July, sunflower fields burst into bloom, painting vast stretches of northern and northwestern China in gold. But their true value only begins once the flowering season ends. By September to October, the flower heads droop, signaling that the seeds have accumulated sufficient oil and are ready for harvest. Specialized combine harvesters move into the fields, precisely separating the flower heads from the stalks, cleaning the seeds, and rapidly collecting them into storage bins. Thanks to integrated mechanization, harvesting is fast and efficient, with minimal loss. In China, sunflowers are more than a symbol of summer's golden landscape. They are a vital source of vegetable oil, playing a key role in securing agricultural stability in water-scarce regions. Chinese agriculture is not only defined by speed and scale, but also by products shaped through patience and precision. Honey peaches are a prime example. Although still cultivated using largely traditional methods, this delicate fruit generates $15 billion annually, proving that value does not come from volume, but from quality. Unlike common peach varieties that can be harvested using shaking machines or mass collection methods, honey peaches must be picked entirely by hand. The reason lies in the fruit's unique structure: exceptionally soft flesh, high water content, and thin, highly sensitive skin. Harvesting honey peaches is a refined manual process. Pickers do not twist or pull. Instead, they cradle the fruit in the palm of the hand, gently easing the stem until the peach naturally detaches from the branch. Each freshly picked fruit is placed immediately onto soft padding. A single drop or slight squeeze is enough to instantly destroy its value. In return, consumers are rewarded with a fruit that is delicately sweet, intensely juicy, and subtly aromatic, available for only a brief window of a few short weeks each summer. In China, spicy hot pot is more than just a dish. It is a ritual, and chilies are the fuel that powers its heat. Producing around 16 million tons of chilies each year, accounting for nearly 45% of global output, China does not merely consume spicy food, it shapes the world's map of heat. Few people see the harsh reality behind the chili industry. Manual harvesting, especially for extremely hot varieties, once caused burning eyes, respiratory irritation, low productivity, and heavy dependence on seasonal labor. That is why the world's largest chili-producing nation was ultimately forced to mechanize. In large-scale growing regions such as Xinjiang and Gansu, specialized chili harvesters operate like mobile production lines, cutting plants at the base, gathering them, separating the pods through vibration and vacuum suction, and transferring them directly into storage bins, without human hands ever touching the crop. As a result, productivity has surged, health risks have dropped sharply, and the final product achieves greater uniformity for processing and export. This is not simply faster harvesting, it is a strategic shift that has turned China into a dominant superpower in the global chili industry.